I'm Rachel, and this is Designed Resilience, the corner of the internet where we talk about building daily habits and practices that help you have the resilience you need when things are amazing, because that takes stamina, or when things are really hard, because you need a foundation that you can rely on. And a lot of times you'll be listening to me talking, but I am so grateful to have my guest, Ty Gipson, with us today. As I usually say when I have guests, I could never do them justice. So I would rather have Ty take it away with telling us about himself. Ty, let us know who you are.
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for letting me be on here. I'm super excited to be here. It's just I'm glad to be here, but I don't want to take too much of your time. But I also want to make sure our my goal always is if I can connect with one person, we did our job, right? So I hope today that I can connect with somebody, maybe going through something that I can help them with. Well, first of all, Rachel, I go way back. I wanted to, my topic and my goal is to really. I have a no options approach mindset approach is what I've kind of come up with over time, and it really starts way back. And if I get long winded, just shut me off. I mean, because
Okay.
sometimes I get, but. What it was when I was a kid at 8 years old, I was diagnosed with juvenile diabetes.
Oh,
And growing up in Southeast Texas, I was raised. My dad was one of those dust it off, boy, you'll be all right. Nobody wants to hear your problems. And
right.
so I was raised that way. And at the time, I didn't really think much about it. But I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful now that I was raised that way because what I didn't realize is it was preparing me for my journey of adversity, right?
Yeah.
And kind of just being able to push through and get through a lot of things. But when I was diagnosed with juvenile diabetes, it was in the 70s when technology wasn't quite where it is today.
Sure.
Um, but anyway, so I lived down about 2 hours south of Houston.
Mhm.
So finally, the doctor said, you got to get to Houston to the Texas Children's Hospital. There's some really good doctors there that maybe can specialize in this diabetes type 1. Anyway, we go down there and a lot of testing and stuff, but come to find out, they're coming up with this machine that was used for chemotherapy that they were putting insulin in, and
Okay.
it would slowly get drip insulin in throughout the day instead of getting shots. So all that to say, I was early on one of the early insulin pumps back in the
Wow.
70s. And so now it was almost 2 pounds. So I was this kid walking around with this box hanging off of my side for a while. But a lot of research, a lot of stuff went on, and it was amazing to be part of that research and kind of start the insulin pumps, right? So over years, it got better. Obviously, I mean, at first, it was a lot of battles up and down, and I had such brittle diabetes, so it was really tough.
Mm.
But over the years, I got different insulin pumps, and then but the good thing is my parents kind of kept that whole thing about don't treat me any different. I mean, I played
Oh,
sports. I had brothers and sisters that we were swimming and fishing, and I mean, we did. I was there. I did everything a kid would do. But and then let's fast forward 30 years. I started having feeling really really bad, and went to the doctors and come to find out I had my kidneys were failing
oh my.
over the time with diabetes and struggling with diabetes that caused these my kidneys to start to fail. So I went through that, and the doctor said, "You've got such brittle diabetes, though. If you just get a transplant of a kidney, I think you're going to go through multiple kidneys, you know." And
Oh,
so he said, "But here's the deal, Todd. There is a doctor in Baltimore, Maryland, that's doing dual transplants. They'll do a kidney and a pancreas." And I'm thinking, man, I was already kind of in shock about a transplant, but now to start talking dual transplants and all this. Um, so I go out to Baltimore. Sure enough, I'm a candidate for it. My mother, who was 60 at the time, says, Ty, if I'm able, I'm giving you my kidney. God gives us two kidneys, and if my kidneys are good enough and they're not too old, then I want you to have my kidneys. And I said, yes,
wow.
ma'am. And so sure enough, we went through testing and all that, and my mother's kidney matched me perfectly, which was
Wow.
amazing. Um, So, with that being said, I've got my kidney, right? But now to receive a pancreas, you've got to be on an organ wait list, right? So,
Mm,
basically, I'm waiting for a donor, a deceased donor, to donate their their organ. So, and this is always really hard because someone had to go through some really tragic times, right? And
right.
I'm always very, it's heartfelt because I'm very thankful, but at the same time, I know that was a really hard time for somebody. I never have
Yes.
gotten to meet the family,
Okay.
but someone donated their organs to me, and so about 8 weeks or 9 weeks into it, I get a call, and I'd gone through work, and I tried to, again, that whole just keep going, don't let anybody know you're sick kind of thing. Um,
Right.
I get the call midnight on a Super Bowl Sunday. I'll never forget it. I get the
Wow.
call and I realize it's the number from Baltimore. Now, keep in mind, Rachel, here's the deal. There's been four of these surgeries, and two of them really didn't go well. We'll put it
Oh,
that way.
wow. Hmm.
So, I mean, I've got a 6-year-old daughter at home at the time, and I'm going, oh my gosh, this, I mean, there's a chance this is the last time I'll see her.
Yeah.
So it will, and I say all that because this is where some of this no options thing mindset comes in. Is
Yes.
when I walked out that night because we get the call, we take off to Baltimore. I call my mother. My mother lived down in Southeast Texas still. I'm in Austin. We're trying to get to Baltimore for this start. It was like the movies, trying to get everybody
Right.
there.
Yeah.
And we get everybody there, but then we hurry and wait, right? So you get and all the paperwork, so that I'm in one surgical room, the organ is in another, and my mother's in this one. So because it's all these doctors are working on trying to get this to work.
Right.
16 hours later, I come out of surgery. My mother is sitting beside me in the recovery room, and it was an amazing deal. But the doctors said when they were trying to sew the kidney on, it started working, which is rare because a lot of times it takes weeks and sometimes before they'll start picking up. And but it was such a, I mean, I always say it was such a crazy story. But my
Yes.
mom's kidney started working immediately, which was amazing.
Yes.
Now organs don't last forever,
Right.
unfortunately. So my kidney, I mean, my pancreas lasted for 12 years.
Wow.
So think about this now. For 12 years, I didn't have diabetes because
Amazing.
I received a pancreas, right? So my body started producing insulin. So all that to say, I didn't have a pump for 12 years. I didn't take insulin, and I wasn't the best diabetic. Don't get me wrong, but my first thing when I got done is the doctor was telling me I was diabetic, and we got regulated a little bit. He said, what as a non-diabetic, what do you want? I said, I want a Dr. Pepper and a Snickers bar. And
Yes.
so so I did. I went and got that, but it wasn't near what I thought it was going to be because it was way too sweet. Anyway, all that to say, but the surgery went amazing, right? And it was just to think of the technology and the things, but more importantly, I want to think about someone that donated their organs.
Mhm.
And this is where I like to try to give a little bit of a lesson is I, that was a huge adversity. That was a big wall. I didn't know if I was ever coming back to my family. I didn't know what that looked like. But what I do know is I did not want to live the life of being on dialysis and maybe 5 or 4 or 5 years and then not be around.
Right.
Um, so I took the no option mindset of going, there's really no option but to do this surgery, right? I mean, so I went after that surgery, and I was able to come out, but since that surgery, I
Mhm.
was able to adopt my daughter, my youngest daughter now, who's 15,
Oh,
and my 6-year-old daughter that I walked away from that morning.
yeah.
I got to walk down the aisle with her this last month. So
Congratulations.
all of that is, it's just, and my point to all this is we all have adversity. We all are dealing with something, but on the other side of adversity is some really amazing things. And so
Yeah.
I just try to encourage people, whatever it is, whatever wall, and sometimes that wall looks way, 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 way too big to get over, right?
Right.
But I can promise you it's worth the climb. And I just try to encourage people to make that climb because
Mhm.
it's unbelievable. Um, what is on the other side of adversity. But it's not fun. I mean, I know. I mean, I think I was telling you, just technology. I mean, sometimes we run into little things that just we think, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? But you know what? Life is short and
Mhm.
precious and amazing. So we've got to be able to push through. Sometimes it feels like there's nothing ahead of us, but there's a lot. There's a lot to be desired. So
Yes.
all of that to say, no, jump in, Rachel. If you got to stop me,
Okay.
I gotta. There's an ending to this story that's really cool too. So if you have any
Okay.
questions at this point, let me know.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that you mentioned, I'd be interested in your perspective on. You talked about being raised by parents who were kind of, get up, dust yourself off, and let's go again. Let's push through. And I know as a kid, sometimes that can feel hard. Like, I wish you'd just pick me up and hold me for a minute. But those things in our youth that maybe we didn't appreciate end up serving us so much better. And I think you're a perfect example of that. When we're little, we just want to be protected and loved on and, told everything's going to be okay. But sometimes that sets us up for more success. Did you have any of that kind of feeling change about the way your parents operated, or did you always value it?
No, I mean, yeah, there was times I wonder why is he being so hard, um, but I am, especially after you become a parent, you're like, oh
Uh-huh.
man, as we know, parenting is hard. Um, and it's yeah, to look back on it, I'm so thankful
Hmm.
because I'm not sure I would have gotten through a lot of what I've gotten through without having that mindset of just dust off kind of approach, right? Um,
Right.
so, but it's just yeah. Again, I'm very thankful. But I mean, it is sometimes and I hope young kids understand too that sometimes when they're the parents are being tough, it's really just a love. It's a true love that we're trying to help them become stronger humans and be able to handle this crazy world that we live in.
Absolutely. Another thing that comes to mind is, they say hindsight's 2020. When you look back on your story, you can see the pieces that make sense. And I know that you have a very determined, no options mindset, but you're human. Were there times when having the no options mindset felt too heavy? When it was like, I'm tired of climbing. Did that ever happen to you?
It does, and I tell people that all the time. I mean, I'm not I mean, we're human, like you said, and I mean, sometimes, I mean, even me to this day, I mean, I run into this wall. Sometimes I feel like walls are getting too heavy or too big,
Mhm.
and there were times where I didn't know, like, okay, I'm a Christian, I'm a faith-based guy, and I always say, God, it's not my plan, right? But sometimes I'm wondering, man, can we negotiate this plan? Because I feel like it's sometimes a bit heavy. Yeah, I think it's just human. Sometimes we things feel like they're, and as you know, sometimes from the inside out, they're a lot worse than
Mhm.
we really realize.
Yes, definitely. Well, I'm excited to hear the triumphant ending that you promised.
Let's get
So
ready.
we're
Okay.
climbing. We've got great news. Mom came out of surgery
Yes.
okay. Your surgery, and I firmly believe that your mom prayed that kidney up. And as
Oh,
soon as it got where it was supposed to go, it was like, let's go, guys, let's work.
yes.
I
And I'll
absolutely
tell
love
you just a side note to her. My mother today, she's 85 years old
it.
and still going like she
Mm.
is amazing.
Yes.
So it's that's a great story. But so okay, so I received the kidney, I received the pancreas, and the pancreas lasted 12 years and no
Wow.
diabetes. My mother's kidney went 20 years because organs
Whoa.
don't last forever. So my mother's kidney lasted me from 1999 till basically 2020.
Okay.
2019, right there towards the end of 2019, I I started having kidney, my kidney started going down again. And at this time I've got a business, I've got 45 plus employees, and I still kind of took that approach from my dad, right? I'd go in, act like nothing was wrong, and I still wasn't talking a whole lot about I mean, there's employees that didn't know I was even going through all this, but
Wow.
I would go to dialysis 3 days a week from 4:30 in the morning to 9, and then I would go to the office.
Wow.
And by the end of the day, I'm exhausted. But my sister, I have a brother and I have a sister. My sister kidney matched, so we said, okay, my sister was I was going to be able to receive my sister's kidney. And so we went through the testing, and then right before we went to surgery, they found out there was something with the filtration of my sister's kidney, and they're like, maybe it's not a good idea. And I told them I don't want to take a chance if there's anything that would cause problems for her. And so my wife said, "Hey, I'm not your blood type, so I can't donate to you. But what I want to do is I want to go in and donate my kidney, and then somebody else can donate theirs back to you that's a match for you and maybe move you up the line," because she saw how hard dialysis was. And I always like to say, if you know anybody on this audience that knows somebody going through dialysis,
Mhm.
stop and say a prayer for them, because that is a hopeless place. People go there waiting just to either get an organ or just to basically pass, right? Because it's just a hard place. And you go in, you see the same people for months, and then all of a sudden that person's gone, and you just know something happened. I mean, so it's just a hard place. I drive by every day just because it's right here in town where I live, to the dialysis center, and every time I can, I just say a quick prayer for those people because it's a hard place. So
Yeah.
um, anyway, so I went through dialysis, and then my wife said she was going to do the swap. So she goes in to do the blood work, and she calls me and she's crying, and I'm like, "What is wrong?" And I'm thinking, what? I mean, what could possibly happen? And she calls me and she says, "Ty, I am a perfect match."
What?
I said, "Well, you're a different blood type. How are you a perfect match?" And she says, "No, I was wrong. My blood type and yours are exactly the same."
Oh my goodness.
So all that to say, about 6 weeks later, my wife and I have a transplant, and I received my wife's kidney,
Wow.
and that was 5 years ago. And life has been amazing. I feel better today than I have in years.
Oh,
Um, and so I didn't talk again. I kind of go back to that my dad, right, where I didn't tell, kind of dust off, and then and I was the same way. So I went to my wife had a family reunion, and she said, "Do you mind telling people your story? Because I mean, so many people have heard a little bit, but they want to hear it." I said, if they want to hear my problems, I'll tell them." And so I tell the story, and like on the way home, about four of them text me and said, "Hey, thanks for sharing. We're going to sign up to be organ donors."
oh,
And I'm thinking, how selfish am I if I can simply tell my story and help others? And so really that is why I'm here today, to
amazing.
try to help. I finally just got off of my, I guess selfish ways and said, why am I sitting around
Yeah.
and not sharing when I could, this world we live in is hard.
Yeah.
And I mean, we need to lock arms as brothers and sisters and whatever, and just help friends, and just try to be there for each other, right? And so that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm here today.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, about a year ago, my wife and I was able to sell our business.
Huh?
And so it was really funny when that happened. My wife looked at me and said, "So what are you going to do now?" She
Right.
knew what I was supposed to say, and I said, "I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking fishing or something, And she's like, "You remember you talked about trying to tell your story?" And I said, "You know what? You're absolutely right." So that's what I'm here today. And I really just go around and try to help others, encourage people. And if I can, like we talked about in the beginning, if we can help one person, it's worth my efforts. So I'm
Yes.
not a really good public speaker, by no means, but I feel like I have a story, and God's put that on my plate, and I feel like that's my mission to go help other people. So here I
Oh,
am.
I'm thrilled to help you with that mission. As you were telling the story, I was wondering what it was that changed for you that opened the door for you to tell people, because I certainly understand. I mean, when you're going through something, it can be difficult to share because your friends are going to tell you, oh, it's going to be fine, when they have no idea if it's going to be
Right,
fine or
right.
not. And so it can be difficult to find support there. So I understand, until you kind of get through something, you keep it close to the chest.
Right.
But there's a Walt Disney quote that I love, and it says, "The beginning of friendship is when you can look at someone and go, you too?" That recognition of shared experience is what is the initial bond. If you go to church, you're sharing that experience of faith. If you go to school, you're sharing the experience of learning and work and all these places where we meet people. And the more layers of those connections we have, the deeper that we can relate to someone.
Absolutely.
And so it's beautiful that you're connecting with people this way. Um,
That's funny. Well, first of all, I love the Disney quote. I did my internship out of college. I worked at Disney.
oh,
And
did
so
you?
that's where I started and I loved it. So I'm a big Disney fan as well. And then, but one of the things, Rachel, I want to say is there's out of all this, there,
Mhm.
people ask me, how did you get through that? What
Right.
did you do? And I want to, if you don't mind, there's three quick steps that I
Yes.
want to encourage people when we go through and just a little thing, and I have to remind myself of this all the time too. But there's three quick little things that I do, and there's three. The first one is grow. My question is, when something arises, are
Right.
we going to grow or are we going to die? And when I say die, I don't mean death. I mean, are we going to let a dream go? Are we going to let a hope, our
Oh,
purpose? Are we going to let something like that go? Because so it's what we do. Are we going to do something about it or are we going to just lay over, right? Number two, hope or despair. And that's how we think.
mm,
Are we going to be positive thinkers? Are we going to be kind of the naysayers, the negative?
mhm.
Thinker, the victim kind of thing is poor, pitiful me. Why does this always happen to me? Or are we going to be very positive and go, you know what, we're going to get through this. This is how we're going to do it. And then the third step is humor or drama, and that's how we talk, right?
Okay.
And I believe this wholeheartedly. Like if we go around talking positively about what's going on, hey, or if it's poor pitiful me, hey, did you know I had all these transplants and I can't do this and I can't do that, but what I go back to is the grow or die is what we do, the hope or despair is how we think, and the
Yes.
humor drama is how we talk. And if those three are in line, then our mind is very positive, and with
Yes.
positive minds, we can do anything.
Absolutely. I have, talked to lots of different people, and different people have different understandings of how our life kind of unfolds. And,
Right.
um, some believe that they can walk a plan based on God's will, and some believe that they can create their own reality. And I think what you've described is the truest form of creating your reality within God's plan, because those sides of the wall, if we're going to grow or die, are we going to have hope or despair, are we going to have humor or drama? Those are decisions that I make, and those
Right.
are the decisions that create my experience within the bigger plan. So it's not necessarily that I'm setting the events of my life, or that I understand where I'm making that happen as I go, but I do have some impact over the way I experience the walk. And I
Yes,
think
for
that's
sure.
really powerful, because I think one of the most difficult things to overcome is hopelessness.
For sure.
And so if you have that from the beginning, you decide, well, I'm not going to think that way. I'm just
That's
not
right.
going to let that be an option to
Sure. That's
be
right.
in
Well,
despair. um, then you set yourself up to be available for the blessings, and available for the good news, and available for those twists of fate, like your wife's blood type matching yours
that's right.
exactly.
That's right. Well, we think about it. I mean, a lot of times we don't, we have tools, we have all these, and we talk about all these things that we need to do certain things, but we
Mhm.
don't ever talk about what we need when we run into mental things, right? It's things that we need to, and that's why, in fact, I say this because I have these little cards around. I mean, these are my reminders. I mean, we're all
Yes.
human. We're gonna have this is what we do. This is how we talk. So, I mean, I've got this in my. I've got one on my, my mirror in my bathroom. I mean, in my truck. I've got them because it's just a reminders when I struggle with a process, I need tools to help me go through it. And I want people to understand that's a simple tool, a tool that we can just write it on your on a notepad in your truck or whatever. But it's how what we do, think, and talk is going to be a direct connection to our mind. And
Yes,
again, our mind is so powerful.
absolutely. Do you find yourself, is it more where you start from the intention of being in that more positive place, or is it where you're going through your day and you notice maybe you're falling to the other side and you're like, okay, wait, I don't want to think, talk, or do that. I want to do, are you catching yourself and switching, or are you kind of staying on the positive side all the time?
No, I mean, I think I don't think it's humanly possible to stay positive at all times, right?
Okay.
I think we all venture over. I mean,
Mhm.
gosh, I mean, we always have challenges, and
Yeah.
I use it as sometimes it is a drift. I mean, a slow drift over, and I'll go, okay, hold on a second. What am I doing? I mean, I have to question myself. Is this growing, or am I really falling into this, letting that dream go? I mean, I want to finish this, right? And I am a lot of times I'm talking to myself,
Yes.
I want to do this. Do you really want to do this, Ty? Or is this something? And in my mind, I'm going through these processes, but you're absolutely right. Sometimes we drift and we got to do a self correction and get back on track.
Yes, and I think having those defined kind of ends of the spectrum is very helpful because you can see and feel it. Like
Yeah.
I don't feel like I want to feel. I want to move some part of this over. Oh, that's so
But
powerful.
it's really cool though to watch. I told you I adopted. She's 15 now, and we got her at birth, so we've had her forever. But it's um, she's in soccer right now, and so I mean, just the other night she had a rough game. She's a goalkeeper,
Okay.
had a rough game, and so I was bringing out she was frustrated. I don't know why I do this. I don't know why I do that, and so I brought it out, and she said, "Dad, don't do the grow and die thing on me." But you know what? She knows about it and she thinks about it. But my message to that was the other day when I was going to do a speech, and she knew I was nervous about it because I was up tonight working, and anyway, I woke up the next morning and there was a note that she had written, and she says, "Dad, you're going to do amazing things today." But my point is this can be things that can be brought out anywhere in your
Yes.
kids and but just so you know, with the kids, it's contagious. They're picking up on these things, even though they say they don't want to hear it.
That's
But
right.
it was really refreshing to me to see that little note that more. In fact, I've saved this note because it's very precious to me.
Yes, you should. Yes, put that on the fridge or frame it or something.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just like
But
you picked that up from your dad
yeah,
to pick yourself up and keep on moving. She's picking it up from you. That's a
that's right.
beautiful lineage, a beautiful legacy. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
But I just again, and I don't want it's not all about me. I'm wanting to hope I can help others
Mhm.
understand. And I know there's some walls that are way bigger than everything I've ever been through. But I do believe there's always a way over it. And when we get over it, there's some really amazing things. So
Most definitely.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
my experience with the organ donor programs, I worked at a children's hospital in Dallas,
okay,
and we would do events. And so I registered as an organ donor. It's on my driver's license. And we did cheek swabs. So for the registry that I'm a part of is super easy. They just swab your cheeks, turn it in, and then they keep your information in a database.
yes,
and then they'll call. Are there any other, and I know you can go online to get the kit, or you can go to an event at a local hospital to register. Any other ways that you're familiar with, Ty, for people to get into that, making themselves available, supporting the donor community, anything like that?
Well, I would tell you, each state has a little bit different rate. You know,
Okay.
they're every one of them is a little different.
Okay.
So I would recommend going to
Mm,
donatelife.org, and they have they will you can kind of direct to your region, your state, whatever that looks like,
okay.
and kind of give you more directions. But now with it on your driver's license and all that, there's a lot of they've made it really easy to become an organ donor,
Yeah.
and I encourage it. You know, I really do. I mean, and I always say on my website, Rachel,
Mhm.
I have people call me just to talk about it. I mean,
Yes.
if there's things that are setting them back, or questions, and you know, I was just on a call not long ago with a organ association. They called me. There was a family that was their loved one. They had a motorcycle accident, and
Mm,
they were debating on whether to donate their organs of their
okay.
child's organs. And so they call me, and I visit with them about just, you know, in a tragic situation,
Yeah.
what a gift it can be. I mean,
Yes.
we're never going to replace
Mm,
what you've lost, but the gift that you can give
yes.
and change so many lives, is absolutely amazing. So, you know, and I think a lot of people. It's funny when I get on stages and people read my bio and they think, you know, I think they think that they're going to wheel me out on a hospital bed, you know,
Sure.
and I try to. I mean, it's fun to look at these people and go, oh my gosh, this guy's still walking and talking.
Right.
So there's life. There's so much life, and life is short, and I'm just every day's a bonus day to
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm on a mission to try to tell as many people about it as I can. My wife laughs at me. She said, if you get on the elevator long enough with somebody, I'm going to talk to them about about being an organ donor, or being positive. What's wrong with them today? Why can't we be a
Yes.
but I'm just happy to be here and encourage people, because there are ways through things that we can, and there's people to help, and
Yes.
sometimes people just don't, all they need is a hug sometimes, you know, or just
Absolutely.
somebody to talk to.
Yes.
And
Definitely.
so, I encourage people to. I'm available, but I mean, I encourage your audience, if we,
Mhm.
you know, um, just to, you know, you never know what someone's going through, so be there for other people, because you know it's a tough world out there for all of
Absolutely.
us. So
Oh, Ty, thank you for this amazing conversation. Thank you for your story. Thank you for giving us actionable tips that we can use when we are starting to climb a mountain and we want to keep moving forward. I know this won't be the last time that my audience will want to hear from you. So, you mentioned a website. Where
right.
can they find you? Where can
Well,
they connect with you?
TyGipson.com is one. It's just TY, and it's GIP is in Paul, SON.com. But on there, there's got all my information. I mean, how to get a hold of me as far as my social media, my cell phone's on there. I mean, good Lord, call me. I will be glad to visit with them. But I also have a podcast called, you know, Ty Gipson, No Options. And I'm new at it. I'm having fun with it, and I would love for them to jump on and listen and give me some feedback. But those are the best ways. And then I do public speaking. You know, I speak to businesses. I've spoke to hospitals and nonprofits, and really just people. If I can help, I'm willing to go.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, I know you've helped me. I
Okay.
know you've helped my audience today. So I'm so grateful for your time. And I encourage you all to visit Ty Gibson's website, listen to his podcast, visit donatelife.org if you're interested in becoming registered as an organ donor. It's such a beautiful gift that you can give. And we hope you found something to take with you, and we'll see you next week.